Hi, you ready for some more of our chapter book? Zenny, are you ready for some chapter book? I think you are. Okay, so today we're gonna start on chapter 7, and it's called A Reward. And remember yesterday, Mrs. Honeybee started giving the mouse chocolate, and he came and took it. All right, let's see how this goes. The best laid schemes of mice and men, said the poet Robert Burns, don't always turn out quite right, but maybe it's different with women. At any rate, Mrs. Honeybee's plan for making friends with her singing mouse seemed likely, as the days went by, to be a winner. The very next day, after she had put down that first chocolate, she put another down in the same place, just as she was about to begin her morning piano playing. No sooner had she played the first few bars of a tune, it was Food, Glorious Food from the musical Oliver, then she saw from the corner of her eye a little mouse dart out of the hole in the molding, grab the chocolate, and whisk back in again. "Look, Mommy," said Wolf as he laid the prize before his mother. "Another one of those yummy sweets." Mary, newly awakened, listened to the music above. "Wolfgang Amadeus," she said, "do you mean to tell me you just went out and took it while the lady was actually playing?" "Don't be angry, Mommy," said Wolf. "She's nice, I'm sure of it. She must feel kindly toward us, or she wouldn't be feeding us this stuff." "It could be a trick," said Mary. But all the same, she bit a lump out of the chocolate. Mrs. Honeybee wisely did not hurry. Patience, she knew, was what was needed, and she took one step at a time. After evening playing that day, she put out another chocolate, but not on the floor this time. Instead, she placed it at the base end of the keyboard beside the bottom A. "You'll have to climb up for this one, Mouse," she said. By bedtime, it was gone. That means that Wolf had come out to get it. The following morning, she put another in the same place, sat down, and began to play a song called "Climb Every Mountain." Halfway through the song, she was delighted to see a mouse climbing up the piano leg. It sat beside the chocolate, watching her with bright eyes. Mrs. Honeybee continued playing, but in a higher key, so that her left hand would not come too close to the mouse. After a few seconds, he took the candy in his mouth and he ran down the leg of the piano and into the hole. So it went on. Day by day, Mrs. Honeybee lured the singing mouse upward and inward. She now played with the top of the piano closed, and once the mouse had grown accustomed to taking a chocolate at keyboard height, she began to place each fresh one up on the top, first at the left-hand edge and then gradually closer to the center of the instrument, until at last the candy was directly above middle C, directly over Steinway and Sons. In fact, directly opposite the face of the pianist. You guys, can you imagine sitting there playing piano and right in front of you was a little mouse? And then what if he started singing? That is so cool. Another wolf was by now, although Wolf was by now quite used to collecting his prize from wherever it had been placed, confident that the lady would not harm him, he nevertheless did not usually stick around. But when at last he found himself sitting so close to her, their eyes on the same level and no more than 1.5 feet apart, he paused for a moment before picking up the candy, and they looked directly at each other. "Well done, Mouse," said Mrs. Honeybee quietly, and she began to play a song called "You're the Top." Here's a picture of Mrs. Honeybee and Wolf the mouse looking right at each other. Now came the final part of Mrs. Honeybee's plan. Once Wolf had become accustomed to showing up twice a day to get his chocolate from that spot above middle C, right in front of the lady's face, There came an evening when things were different. He arrived to find that there was no chocolate awaiting him. He looked down to see that the lady was holding the candy in the fingers of her left hand, while with her right she played very softly the melody of love's old sweet song. Mrs. Honeybee had worried about which song to choose at such an important moment. She had considered the Three Blind Mice and Come On Everyone, but had decided that she would play the tune her mouse had been singing so sweetly when she had first opened the top of the piano and set eyes on him. So now, in the twilight, she played this song in the high notes of the treble, gently waving the chocolate to and fro in time to the music. All the while, she kept her eyes fixed on the mouse, willing him to do what she wanted. Sing for your supper, she thought. Sing, 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 like a good boy. Wolf crouched, stock still, as quiet as a mouse indeed, listening to the melody and watching the little round piece of chocolate as it was waved in front of his nose. Suddenly, something clicked in his tiny brain. She wants me to sing for my supper, he said to himself. That's what she wants. I haven't got any words for this song, but perhaps it doesn't matter. He waited until the melody ended. Then he sat up, straightened his whiskers with one paw, cleared his throat, and took a deep breath. Right on cue, Mrs. Honeybee once more began to play the tune with her right hand, and from the mouse's mouth there came again that high, pure, true voice. La 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 la, caroled Wolf to Mrs. Honeybee's delights. When the song ended, the accompanist gently held out her left hand to the singer, who took his reward equally gently in his two front paws. Chapter 8, A Groan. You know, a groan is like, oh. You guys, this is where something kind of exciting happens. Are you ready, Zenny? A groan. Did my ears deceive me? Said Mary when Wolf arrived home with his reward. Or were you singing at the same time as the lady was playing? Yes, I was, Mommy, said Wolf. It was fantastic. How close were you? Very close. I took this chocolate from her hand. Oh, you did what? Cried Mary. You must be crazy. Look, Mommy, said Wolf, tomorrow, when she comes to play and I go up on the piano to sing, which I certainly intend to do, why don't you come with me? I don't think so, said Mary. What do you mean, I don't think so, said Wolf. It seems to me that my mother is too scared. I'm not afraid, but you are. Mary's eyes flashed. Wolfgang Amadeus, she said, are you calling me a coward? That remains to be seen, replied Wolf. And seen it was the following morning, to Mrs. Honeybee's surprise, not one, but two mice appeared on the piano top. To be sure, the larger one seemed very wary. Wary is like afraid. Jumping nervously when the pianist raised her hands to play. But once the first bars of Come On Everyone had rung out, and the little mouse, could Mrs. Honeybee but have known it, was cheerfully singing Merry Mice Are We, Mommy Mouse and Me, the other one, the mother, Mrs. Honeybee felt quite sure now, calmed down and sat listening proudly to her son. Next, the pianist played Three Blind Mice, and the singer sang Sing Song Mouse. Mrs. Honeybee paused for Wolf to catch his breath. The day's first chocolate, Wolf noted, was waiting there on the piano top, but he did not take it. Not only did he want to sing some more, but he also wanted to learn a new song to impress his mother. And he stared beadily at Mrs. Honeybee, his eyes fixed on her, willing her to do what he wanted. Teach me a new song, he thought. Teach me, teach me, teach me like a good woman. Suddenly something clicked in Mrs. Honeybee's large brain. He wants to learn a new song, she thought, to impress his mother, I dare say. Perhaps his mother could learn it too, now that she was here. What a good idea, she decided. They can sing duets in close harmony. I'll try a cradle song, and then they'll be able to lull each other to sleep. She began to play very quietly, the six in a measure rhythm of a song by Chopin. After a while, Wolf began to join in. And when she played the lullaby 3 times, he knew it by heart. Very nice, dear, said Mary, when he had sung it right through. I like that tune, though it does make me feel a bit sleepy. Why don't you give it a go, Mommy? Said Wolf. And at the same time, Mrs. Honeybee, sitting and watching the 2 mice, heads close together, whiskers mingling, said, Come on, Mother Mouse, you give it a shot. Oh, I can't sing, said Mary in answer to her son. How do you know, said Wolf. You've never even tried. Now then, Mother, said Mrs. Honeybee, here's your note. Go on, Mommy, said Wolf. Ready? Said Mrs. Honeybee. 1, 2, and Mary Mouse opened her mouth, and out of it came a lot of hoarse, discordant squeaks. Ah, ooh, ooh, ah! Oh dear, said Mrs. Honeybee. Oh dear, said Wolf. I told you, said Mary angrily. I suppose you think it's funny to make a fool of your old mother, Wolfgang Amadeus. And she flounced off. Wolf followed, carrying the chocolate, while Mrs. Honeybee softly played and sang an old music hall song that went, Oh dear, what can the matter be? That evening, Wolf came alone. The mother's taken umbrage, Mrs. Honeybee thought. Wherever my little mouse gets his voice from, it's certainly not from her. She played another new tune, a song by Schubert, and Wolf was very soon la-la-la-lying to it. So quick and true was his musical ear that during the next few weeks he learned a good number of new songs. Not knowing any words to them didn't, he found, keep him from enjoying the sound of his own voice. And the more he learned, the more pleasure he got from singing. The candy was very welcome, of course, but he would have sung away to the ladies' accompaniment quite happily, even if there had been no chocolate awaiting him. And one morning there wasn't. Wolf knew by now that very soon after the grandfather clock in the hall had struck 11 times, the lady would come into the living room to play. She would already have put a chocolate on the piano top, though Wolf never took it until after his singing was over. That morning the clock struck, and after 10 minutes or so, Wolf came out of the hole and ran up onto the piano top. Funny, he thought, she's not usually late. He looked for the chocolate, but it wasn't there. He waited. The house was very silent. By the time the grandfather clock struck midday, Wolf was becoming worried. His relationship with his accompanist had become very close. Sometimes he felt they could almost read each other's thoughts, and he now felt it was up to him to see if anything was the matter. I won't tell Mommy, he said to himself. She'll only forbid me to go. The living room door was, as always, shut, but Wolf ran along a mouseway that came out into the hall and made his way toward the kitchen. As he entered it, he saw, to his horror, that the ginger cat was lying in its bed beside the stove. The cat's horror was, however, far greater. At the sight of the mouse, it leapt up and disappeared through the cat flap at top speed. Wolf looked around the kitchen and then searched the other downstairs rooms, but there was no sign of the lady. Made bold by the flight of the cat, Wolf decided to go directly up the stairs. It was a long, steep climb, but he was young and fit, and he soon found himself on an upstairs landing where he had never been before. There were several doorways at the sides of this landing, and through one of them, an open one, Wolf suddenly heard a groan. Oh boy. I wonder if it's Mrs. Honeybee. I've got to stop reading now. Tomorrow I'll read you chapter 9, and it's called A rescue. I wonder if Wolf is going to rescue Mrs. Honeybee. You'll have to check in tomorrow. We'll finish the book tomorrow. We only have 3 chapters left. Okay, bye.